Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? I'm Dr. Samuel Otto, the Executive Director, CEO, and agent of Cell Models and Talent Agency LLC. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And I am so excited to bring to your attention the growth that SLMTA is preparing for the year 2021. Where it began in 2020, actually, during a pandemic year. But before I step into the topic, I want to also ask you, if you hadn't done so yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is SL Models and Talent Agency LLC. It is a gold icon with the red ring around it. And if you could also hit that notification bell as well, because we are definitely going to have some upcoming events that will be very surprising to you. We are working very, very hard with initiating, negotiating, and affiliating with some very, very good artists out there today. So definitely keep that in mind. Do not forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe today. Also, if you want to participate and want to join the SLMTA community, you can do so at patreon.com/SLMTA. We will be happy and thank you in advance for your support. Also, sponsors. If you are interested in sponsoring with SL Models and Talent Agency LLC, you could do so at slmta-agency.square.site/SLMTA-sponsorships, and we will be glad to work with you on your sponsorship opportunities. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a very short moment here. We want to thank everyone who is watching, who plans to watch. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, as well as Twitch. If you want to follow us on Twitch, you can do so at twitch.tv/SLMTA. Facebook, we have Moda Pageant, MODA Pageant, PAGEANT. You can also follow us on SL Models and Talent Agency LLC on Facebook, or my personal account, Lombardo J. Samuel. We will be having a clients only sign-in community page for our SL Models and Talent Agency LLC. We're going to be developing that Facebook page this evening, as we are now getting a lot of requests in, and we will be able to share our private roster information to you guys there. But you would have to sign in and develop an account to be qualified in our community as a client. Okay, we will also have, for those who are potential models, singers, dancers, what have you, whatever specific that you are in for your genre, we will actually have a Facebook page, community page for you as well, so that you can sign in and communicate among each other, because SLMTA is growing, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the first thing that I want to mention is this ordeal about, well, actually, no, let's talk about regional officers first, because I've kind of brought this up already in the past, so it's not going to take me as long. But the agents being needed, that's going to take a minute, because there are some folks that are a little bit confused about the agent's position versus someone that's answering a telephone, if that makes sense. So I want to make sure that we clearing all of this up and that we are getting the right people doing the right things, and and you know, you are definitely going to have to use a telephone for sure, you know, or a cell phone or something of some sort. We're going to explain that in a minute because the agents are going to be a little bit tricky. But officers, we are looking for regional officers, but I am going to be very upfront, honest, and straightforward with this. This is not for someone who may be coming to me saying I'm financially strapped. If the pandemic has been a huge bother, now we're going to talk about that for after I even mention all of this. But if the pandemic has been an issue for you and you cannot start your own agency or whatnot, then unfortunately, it's probably better that you're not able to start a regional office, because regional officers basically means that you are going to take upon yourself to start an SLMTA in your state, okay? You will be responsible for that. Now, we will give you the guidelines of how SLMTA runs, but we're not going to tell you how to run your SLMTA office. And for you to be able to get the credentials of the SLMTA, like all of our contracts or logos and things like that, we require a $5,000 plus up fee. This is for those of you, again, that are looking to start an SLMTA. So if you're looking to want to start an SLMTA in your state and you believe in our mission, then what will happen is we would have to get you our franchised agreements, basically. And we would be training you in the way of SLMTA. However, we're not going to tell you how you can run your office, okay? And some of you, like I said before, you may be requiring an actual license. So that means that not only does the agency have to be licensed, but the agent within the agencies have to be licensed. And I do check on that. You will be surprised, because I talk to people today where a name just comes right out of the thin air. And the first thing that I do is say, okay, let me go to the registrar's office and see if this person is actually licensed. Otherwise, I don't even have to listen to them, because technically speaking, you can't listen to someone that doesn't know the minimum about what an agency is to run. And the basics is to make sure that you are legalized to run an agency. That's the first thing. Now that's in the case of you actually running an agency. Now, some of you I have spoken about wanting to become agents. Now, this is something that you could do where it's work from home, but then you are going to be reporting to the Midwest region. Now, here is the issue. The issue is that there is what you think the entertainment industry should be and the reality of how the entertainment industry is running. There are two different things, okay? It's like, I would like to see it be this way, and sometimes I could try and work our way into it, and it may actually happen. It could become a reality, you know, because we know that the pandemic has caused a lot of issues. But the reason that SLMTA is still rolling and you're still trying to figure out how to maybe barter or something is because of the fact being that we did the breakthrough, and now we're just waiting to come out the other side. So there are things that we need to improve. I'm not even going to say that. SLMTA does not know everything, and well, let's put it to you this way. SLMTA doesn't have everything in a row, but we have the majority of what we need to be able to function as a business. And now it's just about time. Like, we've taken a lot of losses. A lot of people had done last year. But what has kept us going alive is the consistency of online viewership, website. Even if the website, like I'm not actually particularly happy about the website. And that's why we ended up developing what we call a roster website. So that way then at least the roster website looks good enough. But our website is actually, compared to some of them out there, where it literally looks like it's just first grade language and just straight down one page. I'm so glad that, we were able to break everything up and try to put everything where it needs to be. So all I have to do is say to a client, go to terms and conditions. This is how SLMTA actually functions. And they do. They go straight to terms and conditions. They don't have to sit there and look around the website, click on this page, click on that page, get confused about that over here and this and that. Although there is still a lot of stuff happening and things that are missing on the website that I'm not happy about. But for agents, the one thing that I need to be very clear with you is, even though you may know how the industry runs and how you may think it should run now because of the trends, the reality is there are two realities, believe it or not. There is actually cheaper wages. I'll explain to you what I mean by that in a minute, because I'm not too big of a fan about the cheaper wages, but a lot of it is coming from clients who have lost a lot of the money from the get-go. So it has nothing to do with the fact that the agent is obviously going to get cheaper wages because the bookings are less money. Okay, if that makes sense. But one thing that we know for sure, and it is straight up entertainment law, is that your agents must know what they are basically doing. What do I mean by that? An agent, okay, the agency has the guidelines. The agency is running by the guidelines of the entertainment law. The agent understands the entertainment law by what the agency is providing them, okay? And then from there, the agents must be able to know how to report with a client. So if you're coming to me talking about, I got to make phone calls, I got to do this, I got to do that, then the first thing I'm thinking is, are you a receptionist or are you an agent? That's the first thing that comes to my mind, because an agent knows, okay, an experienced agent, because that is part of what SLMTA would be looking for. If you're someone who is coming to me saying that I know this agency, I know that agency, I have this exposure, I have that exposure, this client, but then you're saying, I'm afraid that I'm not going to make no money and all this is commission. By the way, by law, you have to get paid by commission. You are a 1099 employee to an agency. Now, you're probably saying, why is that a law? There are very, very, very specific reasons why. Because one, the agency doesn't technically charge models up front. So it's hard to actually say, I'm going to give you $35,000 a year if you're not even worth $35,000, if you can't even book that much. So you'd have to actually argue that one out with me. Like, oh, can you book $35,000 worth of bookings? If so, then maybe we could talk about a salary. but we're not charging artists, and it's against the law to do that. The BBB knows that, the unions know that, shoot, even conventions know that, and they have a way that they're actually working with agencies to be able to fulfill that promise to the talent that go to the convention. So prospective agents understand this, that most agents that work within an agency, unless of course like me, right, or other agencies out there, you are actually developing your self image first. So you're already out there. You're being exposed by agencies. You're being exposed by different clients, and clients are getting to know you and all that, right? You're not starting from scratch. So you're actually able to dive in with your experience, and you can get bookings done. Well, there are some folks that come to me, and I mentioned this before, but I have to bring it up again, that will try to tell me that they need some kind of a salary to be able to book models. Well, how am I supposed to determine a payment for an agent that I'm not sure who you know, what you know, even if you could tell me, because believe me, I've been there and done that as well. And and then sitting there telling me that this whole array of who I may know in the union. Well, first of all, you can't even say union if you're going to tell me salary, because the union actually is the number one perspective in this. The unions are the ones that say, you got to get rid of agency fees. You got to get rid of these upfront fees. Now, they're not talking about upfront fees that are beyond what an actor does, okay? They're talking about for the perspective of commercial filming and that kind of thing, theater, you know. So if you're in the union in that way for any purpose, the minimum that you can make as an agent in the agency, see, the agency even loses money there. The agent is the only one who does the booking that can actually make any money on that artist. The problem is that some of us, yes, we are losing money, and maybe there is something that can be arranged in the way of the new way of doing things. But then you'd also have to argue that out with those who make law, because entertainment law is a very, very, very fine line. It's we could do everything and anything we want to do, but if we're breaking the law, we can't do it. Okay. And the union is law, because anything that they are saying is legislation. They will turn around and they will tell you, they're going to tell you what it is and what it's not, especially if you're a franchise agency. If you're not a franchise agency, you have a little bit more room, but SLMTA, we're working towards that goal, okay, of becoming an SLMTA, SAG franchise. You want to actually be franchised with a union with some of your talent in there, because some of these folks are being disrespected or being paid a lot less, so they need to be paid and all that. So there is a win-win when you're an agent. That's why I actually speak now while the pandemic's going on. I actually speak to big artists all around to find out like what they are actually doing. Because yeah, barter system is good, but at the same time, if that's still not getting you anywhere beyond that, and you're just looking for someone to just give you some so that you'll have everything at the back end, that might work now, but then when reality comes to kick you in the face later, and it will, things start, you start realizing, oh my God, like, yeah, like, and this is kind of what had happened during our last recession, when I actually was in the middle of my master program, sitting there researching the trends of the entertainment industry and what had happened, because there was bartering going on even then. So what I was trying to do is create, now I'm not trying to be a monopoly agency, okay? But what I am trying to be is an agency that is real, frantic, authentic, and is going to run exactly the way that the law says that we should be running. Unless you have a problem with the law, then good luck trying to fix that problem. Now you can pretend and say that you know everything about the business. That's fine, and maybe we do. I know a lot about the business as well. That's why I'm running specifically that I'm running. Here's another issue, and I'm going to be talking to big agencies while I'm mentioning that. So yes, 500 million of you are watching. I'm hoping somebody's hearing me today. Okay, I really am. Because let me explain something to you. This goes for the big agencies. At some point, people are going to catch your bluff. What do you mean, Uncle Sam, or Dr. Samuel for that matter? Because I am nobody's uncle. I have 5 people that I'm uncles to, and that's it. 5, 6, something. No, wait a minute. Yeah, four people I'm uncles to. All right, and I'm going to tell you this right now. I am here to lay this out. We have an issue about agencies, and I have done my research even while writing my book, okay? And I'm not talking about the one coming out in August. That's actually going to come out in August. I'm just waiting for things to happen, and it's going. Now, the book that I'm talking about is The Psychology of the Creative Innovators. This is the one I've been saying there's been a lot of problems, and the biggest problem that I failed to even mention, but it was brought up today in a conversation that I was having with an artist about what companies are doing to take advantage of people. Now, it's one thing if you're going to say that you own somebody. It's another thing when you're saying that you own them for everything that they do. What do you think gives you the right to think that you own everything that a person does? If you could find that in legislation under the entertainment law, then I will shut my mouth immediately, okay? But if you cannot, then apparently we have a problem. Yes, and I'm talking about big agencies. I'm putting my foot down. What do I mean by that? Let me explain what I mean by that. SL Models and Talent Agency actually have separate contracts. If you're a fashion designer, we're representing you as a fashion designer. If you're an actor, we're representing you as an actor. If you're a singer, we're representing you as a singer. And by the way, we even go as far as saying we're not a publisher, so I don't care. Only thing we care about is that whether or not you want 100% of your commissions or not. But I have to tell you this, folks, and I'm going to say this a little bit later for you guys that are singers. So at some point, you need to be ready, especially coming in the forefront. You're going to have to be ready to spill some money out because things are going to be changing. If you actually think that I'm being wrong, then I don't want you to be stuck in the surprise, okay? And this has something to do economically within the industry. I'm not even talking about the fact of whether or not you want to own this or do that or do anything like the normal stuff that you're thinking. No, this is actually a whole nother trend that is getting ready to take place. And if you have not been prepared for that, you could be like, well, we'll put it this way, you could be sinking. How fast? I don't know. It will only depend. It'll depend on how stubborn that some of you may actually be. But what I will tell you is that for the big agencies anyway, SLMTA has grown in its size from any other smaller agency, all because of the authenticity, the truthfulness, the honestness, and being real. Why? Because I'm basically telling you that if you're an actor, I don't own you because you might sing too. Unless you want to sign a singing contract with us. Or even if you're a musician is a different definition or genre of the same division. So even though that you may be thinking, I hired a singer. Well, he plays the piano too. So yeah, we're gonna book you gigs there. You'd have to find out from that artist. And see, I like the idea of actually getting permission from an artist rather than actually going the way of, oh, I own you and thinking that you're going to get somewhere. Because I'm telling you this right now, big agencies, I have to start with you first. If you haven't figured it out yet, you're going to figure it out on the back end of this pandemic, and I'm guaranteeing it to you. All right, if you hadn't seen it yet, you're gonna see it now. There are these people that actually have studied along the way of the pandemic that are prepared to say, I would rather work with someone that could work with me doing this, this, and this, even if it is the barter system, rather than it being, oh, sign this contract, I own you for life. If you have that attitude, it's just not going to work. That situation is not going to stick around for a while. This is the new trend that's, it ain't even a trend at this point. It's going to become a reality because people have realized that they could be independent artists. We're going to throw the singer in there, okay, as an example. Singers have found out that they could be independent artists. And therefore, if they have developed themselves and they have a very strong support system, we're going to put support system because I got to be very careful about this. For some singers out there need to understand that even though that you might have a support system, if they're booking, they're a booking agent, which still requires that if you're in a state, you have to be licensed, or they could literally see business fraud because it is actually a felony to be claiming that you can book when you cannot. So be very, very careful with that. But for the big agencies that are out there, and you know what I'm talking about, okay, where you're saying that I'm going to sign you as a model, but because they're so big with being a singer and all that, or they might be a professional actor, that you're going to own them on this, and this as well. Unfortunately, some of those could actually be conflicts of interest. I don't even know how some big agencies are getting away with it. I could see the conflicts of interest, and I could actually see the issues that come right in the forefront. And I have never, ever in my life have even dealt with a contract like that. Not because of I didn't want to be with a major agency. It's because I didn't even bother even wanting to try. Now, I have worked with major agencies before. I will say that as interning and things like that. And I was able to look from behind the scenes and I was like, oh, man, I don't think I want to see that contract. Shoot, we even got training agencies where they're actually, and I brought this up before, right? You ready? Whole reason why we have developed the American National Guild of Performing Audits. Because when that goes down, a lot of this stuff, even if you think that I'm just sitting here wasting hot air, it's going to become reality because all this stuff brought into legislation. We're just waiting for the petitions. We're waiting for people to say, oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I understand. I've been here and done that. Like I've spoken to 5 artists today, and I'm not talking about just some like person that says that they're an actor. I'm talking about actual artists, like in it, been in it, done it, top charts type artists today. And these topics were coming up. So I'm going to tell you this right now, this is not fake. This conversation that I'm having right now on the live is not fake. This is really real, what's going on out there, and what SLMTA sees as not fair. The other thing that I want to mention that is not fair, and this is for like new agencies coming in. And yeah, I'm going to say new agencies because some of these folks, man, they like to step up there and try to make themselves look like they've been around for 45 years and their business hadn't even seen the light of day. Let me explain something to you, okay? SLMTA started, it was registered 09/13/2019. I hadn't really had my first event. It's not even scheduled. Well, the first event, you might as well say, is going to be the Miami photo shoot and these contests that are coming up in 2 weeks. I have not yet had my actual grand opening, and I've been pressing forward and forward to doing it. The grand opening was supposed to be the DeVos plates for the masquerade ball, and now we're turning it into a masquerade ball with a award ceremony for top artists that we are either representing or that we are finding out that are on billboards where their name is even being more exposed. I'll explain more about that in another video because that's a whole nother subject line. But now we have it, it's going to be for the weekend, not just a day, but for the weekend of August 14th, 2022. So now it have become bigger, better, and bolder. So even if I can't do nothing, let's just say I just shut my mouth, close everything up, and all I do is focus just on that and maybe that convention coming up next year. That will probably be what I would need to be able to get a co-owner involved with the actual Midwestern region office. At the bare minimum, I think it would even be more than that. But I'm just saying that's where we are at right now. We have a whole line of different vendors that are going to be happening. I'm waiting still to find out about this scenario with the art prize, because if art prize happens, I may end up being forced to have to do some kind of a barter system, to be honest, because I want to try to get some of these top artists to actually be in our tent to perform. Even if it means that we don't make nothing from it and we just split it off on all the artists that are there. I'm okay with that because we're making our money elsewhere. The idea is it'll be win-win. It'll be exposure for SLMTA. It will be exposure for Art Prize, and it'll also be exposure for the artist who is also seeking compensation. Now, here is where there's another reality. A lot of people don't like commission, but I'm going to tell you, Commission is actually more guaranteed than a paycheck. And you're probably like, what do you mean by that? Because you have to give me a paycheck. So no, that would be guaranteed. No, what I mean is that if you had 10% of a commission, the downfall is the fact that if you're expecting to be paid $1 million, you'd have to do harder work. But the good news on it is that you could expect 10,000 and find out that you made $1 million. The reality is what you are worth is the commission you get. So commission-based is actually called your reality statement. This is what I'm showing you that I'm worth. So what SLMTA has actually done is we have decided that SLMTA, besides us doing commission for them to book with clients, we are also doing a bonus system, which would actually be guaranteed money on top of. What do I mean by that? Well, if they supersede a certain amount, we will be willing to pay them this as our base pay. But we would need to be able to see that you could surpass that amount in order to do it. If not, at least you know that you didn't make it past that amount, but you're going to get paid something. Why am I doing this? Why is SLMTA doing this? First of all, while it's really actually the best part of a barter system, it is also real. It is also to make sure that the job being done is that the job that's being done will be done. Why? Because a lot of the agents that we would be hiring, we are going to be hiring like outside of Michigan and Atlanta and Chattanooga and New Jersey, as well as New York. So if I have a random person that says, yeah, I could do this, I could work for your company, but I'm going to need this, and that. First of all, agents are commission-based work. They must be. But the good news about commission-based, if you really want me to turn it into a positive rather than a negative, is that it shows the real you of what you're able to provide. Because even though that you might make that $1 million, now that tells the agency that we'd have to pay you $10,000 for that week. I'm just using an example, okay? So if you're able to pay yourself at $10,000 for the bookings of the models that you're working with, whether singers or what have you, then, and not only that, but for some agents that actually know the touring regulation, my God, you don't even realize how much money you would actually be making, and you're expecting a salary. Now, that's why you see when you go into glassdoors.com, if you actually do research on Google and say, how does agencies pay agents? There are two things that are going to show up when you Google it. Okay, this is just a basic research project. It's going to tell you two things. One is it's going to say what the salary is, okay, of what they could be making. If you notice, they use the word could. And I'm going to explain that in a minute, because the word could does not mean will. All right. If the word will was in there, if it was like you will be making, then what that's saying, it's straight up saying you will be making. So that's saying that the agency is willing to be able to pay you that. But when it says you could, and then it gives you something like 59,000 to start up to 139,000, for big companies per year. You have to look at that and be like, oh, really? Legitimately, an agency could actually get that. And people, what people do, they take 59,000 and they divide it up by 12, and then they divide it up by 4 weeks. So they're like, well, I want like $45 an hour to run your office. No, that's not what that says. They never said that there was actually, they said the salary could. And if you actually look at the words, you have to understand English to be able to figure this out too, all right? But when they say could, they're actually saying between this and between that, and it depends on your experience. They're not saying that I should be able to know right from scratch if your experience is worth $200,000 or not. No, what they're saying, and that's why I like the way that we're doing it. Yes, we do commission based with agents because it's legal. It is illegal actually to turn around and try to come up with a salary that you're not actually able to pay. Why? You cannot pay, an agency cannot pay an actual salary, and then you start expecting the model or the agent to pay you. And actually, it's not even the model or any of that to pay you. The client already knows to pay you when they're actually doing the paycheck for the model, artist, singer, or what have you. So you actually have to know the backdoor information. You might actually know what it looked like when you saw your contract, when you signed it. And you're like, oh, like they're trying to own me. Oh, no, I can't do that. And then you're spending like 2 years fighting it. Now, if you were someone like me, it wouldn't take 2 years to fight it. I would be making this thing, you know how I ended up doing my thing one time? And you might think that I'm being funny, but it was actually what I did. There was somebody trying to tell me that they were going to own me for 5 years. When I was doing the modeling gig or whatever for this company. And I said, okay, so you think I can't get my way out of it, right? So what do? I go and I get an agency to write me in like as a third party thing. And then I go and I'm writing up flowers, okay? I'm basically ordering flowers or whatever, like just some raunchous idea. It was crazy, but I did it. It almost sounds like a fairy tale what I'm about to tell you. And so I'm very sweet and I'm like, here, I need you guys to go and send these flowers for her, but tell her that she needs to sign that document down there. Now, I knew exactly what this person liked, and I knew exactly how to do it. So that's why I did it that way. So then they go and they take the flowers and they're like, so I had to sign this? They were like, yes. Well, she didn't open the stinking envelope, so she just went and literally signed the thing, took the paper out, so she had to open the envelope, right? Took the paper out of the envelope and signed at the bottom of the thing. And then when it was actually time for me to actually go and do something with that company, it was me with 4 other people that I had to do this with. And so I did it. This is called the poor man's lawsuit way. This is how you do it. It's a poor man lawsuit, okay? Because I didn't have money. I was a college student and I was too dumb to realize, but after that I did realize. So I'm giving you some knowledge here. This is a $1 million nugget here for those of you that might be stuck in that. So I turn around and I decided, well, she thinks that she's going to get me. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to sing my opera up here by myself anyway. So I go ahead and I'm sitting there putting all these other people on a wild goose chase. No lie, they never even came back home. till like a week later. I was even asked, where did the rest of the crew go? I said, I don't know. I said, I'm here. I don't know where they're at. So I had to figure out what to do. And I literally went and I did my thing and right? Well, anyway, long story short, now I know that I might be saying a little bit too much of what they call that, too good for your own good, but I'm going to explain why I brought this story up. So anyway, the paper got signed. They said, well, you know, you can't do this. I said, okay, if I can't do this, then that's a breach of the contract. They said, how's that a breach of the contract? You're breaching the contract. I said, no, apparently you didn't see the fine print on that thing that you signed in the envelope. And I just left it as that. And then that was the end of that conversation. Now, on a more legal way of doing things, it would have been done the very same exact way. Why? Because in the industry in itself, there are conflicts of interest, like, okay, you're a singer, you're a model or whatnot. Most people know, but okay, we're gonna use this because it's easier. Sometimes the singing thing kind of gets a little bit, I don't understand this, how they even consult singing being with modeling. Now, don't get me wrong, some singers actually could be very good models, and they do. But I don't see how they could literally say, oh, because you're a model and you're a big singer, I'm gonna you know, own you as a singer as well. I don't see that. And if it didn't even say anything about that in the contract, then you probably would have a reason to call that null and void. And it would have been a conflict of interest. A lawyer would have gotten you out of that faster than anything anyway. But the point that I'm getting at is we're going to use actors and models. All right. Because actors and models actually are very close together. And mainly because of commercial, all right? So I can see the conflict of interest being there, but I also seen where SLMTA was able to create a way to get that conflict out. And technically, the only way that you can get that conflict out is to realize that a model's responsibility is for the model and the actor's responsibility is for the actor. It is going to be up to the client to determine what they're looking for. If they're looking for a model, but you only represent them as an actor, then unfortunately you cannot put them in a model and gig. But what you could do, hold on. This is why I said that this is the way we get out of the conflict of interest. So what you could do is ask the prospective actor, would you be interested in this role anyway? And they could get in it as a freelance bartering system if they really want to do that job, where they would still pay you the agent fee for booking that position, despite the fact that you were not actually obligated to book them as an actor, but as a model only. You see what I'm getting at? But that would be the only way. It's a little touchy. And the thing is that, yes, you'd have to ask permission. Now, some people think that that is more difficult. We don't have time, but that time is bogus. Let me explain why I say that time is bogus. Folks, SLMTA has been with Dr. Samuel Lombardo for about 1.5 years now during a pandemic, and I have more time than ever and still can book and do what I need to do. And you have big agencies that are spread out in maybe 15, 16 states. with agents working in them and you have no time to make one phone call and actually say, hey, look. No, the problem is it's been set up to really try to figure out how they were going to take what they could from the audit. So here's where it gets really bad. SLMTA, we actually have a whole, like we're developing a whole tour management division. Why? Because while we know that touring is where we can make a lot of the money, we also know that the reality with the audits, there is going to be bartering going on. At this point, you would probably want to work for the commission because you already know with the actual picture of the tour, if you are already being toured in 15 places that are sold out and you know what the prices of the tickets are, and you're getting 30%, let's just say for an example, then that amount versus what your compensation would have been probably would have been so much better. So sometimes you may not, and you can't dictate a compensation. Ask the big ones. Now I've done research. There was a trend at one point where, you know, Taylor Swift would be like, yeah, you know, it's worth this for this seat, it's worth that for that seat or whatever. But at this point, nobody can't even get a seat, so nobody was going to get a seat. And if they were able to get a seat or they were able to get online, it was up to them if they were going to go online and watch it anyway. So you would have had to have a very good paparazzi or something, a good following system, support system, everything, to really make this thing go well. Well, she had it. And therefore, she was able to create that kind of a thing to be able to make what she would have desired to make, or maybe even if it wasn't that, it was still something of what was in the losses. Now, the good news, at least from what I understand, when this venue grant comes up, is not just for venues. And it isn't, but there are some things, and I may want to contact the SBA specifically for that. So I have a number that I could contact them. But anyway, I believe that there is going to be some kind of a system that they're going to be using to determine, because artists have lost a lot. All right, they're sitting there like selling their shoes to be able to get on somebody's site to be able to do something. It's that crazy. Now, I'm kidding. That's I hope that's not what's happening. Now, for some of those newbies that, you know, you show up on TV and all of a sudden now you can't show up on TV. If that's you and you're there with the shoes talking about, I'm gonna give you these shoes to be on your YouTube channel, and then, you know, I mean, we know it's bad then. All right. Let me explain something to you that is extremely, extremely important. Now, I'm saying this in the perspective of SLMTA. I'm not saying this as a trend as of yet. We're going to be working on those videos very soon, because I think you guys actually need the proofs of the trends in order for you to actually realize. So I know what I'm talking about in this case. But regional officers, these are people that know how to start businesses. If that's you, if you're financially stable and you want to start a business and you want to figure out how to make your own income with the mission of SL Models and Talent Agency LLC, then that is for you. All right. If you're an agent and you are seeking and you are experience. An experienced agent is someone who, it could be an artist who actually has the know-how of speaking with clients, or actually knows clients or other agencies that would work with beginners or what have you. If that is you and you have that experience, based off of your experience and what you are worth on your commissions will determine where your bonus lies at. Now, our bonuses for right now, because we're making it realistic. We're not trying to do anything that's not going to be non-realistic. So, for example, you know, $3,000 in earnings, you know, in a week, even if they're pending, because some of you know this in the industry that some clients are up to a net 60. It could be. Now, SLMTA tries to stick with net 30s, but we could go up to a net 60. Our net 60s are usually with experienced clients, but would never be with new clients. All right. And we have a system, a pay card, a chart, and all that too. But you could get up to $500 per week if that is you every week, actually making $3,000 of your own income. Now, is that possible? Yes. If you're sitting here talking about you know elite fashions, you know Bohemia, you know Next, you know this and that, you know that client and that client, you could be with that one and that one, then it should be very easy to know what models would actually support this type of gig. And then they would probably want to be with a trustworthy agency. And so if you see that SLMTA is trustworthy for yourself and that we're being real to you, authentic to you, meaningful to you and all that, and then the mission is just what you want it to be and it's all real. And if you were an artist yourself and it was like, oh, I was like this close to signing, but hey, you gave me a bit better deal or something. If that is you, and some of you, you know who I'm talking about and who I'm talking to, I don't mention names, then it would be very easy for you to actually pick up on some of the people that are looking just like you are for a truthful, honest agency to work with. As far as getting bookings. So it would be a win-win. At this point, it does look like it's just a win for an agency to hire you as someone that can get the clients. But let me tell you, the only way an agency is going to know if you can legitimately get clients and actually have you know, these bookings is if you actually knew who you said that you know. You know, when I have an initial conversation or a Zoom interview or something, the questions that I'm going to be asking, it's not about the agency at this point. I try to throw everything out about the agency up in the front so that I'm being honest already, because at that point, you should already know if you're going to have a Zoom meeting or not. And then from there, there might be some like outside questions that might still need to be tweaked after the interview. Then we could talk about that like that, you know. But for agents, we are really honestly, we are looking for experienced agents who actually, you know, and it could actually be either someone retired from an agency already, where you have no other agency authority, like have to deal with confidentiality and things like that. Because let me tell you something about me, okay? You want to talk about me being lazy. Some folks have actually said, oh, you're doing this, and that. Now, let me tell you what I do when I'm not actually on Zoom or on online, period. I'm actually out there emailing randomly at different types of clients. So I don't care if it's even Broadway, off Broadway, if it's a venue with this artist. Sometimes I have to ask the artists, and I've done this very occasionally. I might do it again, I don't know. But it's what I call the trial phase, which is like, hey, artists, you know, I'm not going to name names, but like, hey, artists, is it okay if I present this little bit that you have given to me and see if perhaps a venue would want to bring you in? And then that might lead into a conversation, and depending on where their mind's at, the first questions that would come up is probably like, what type of venues are you looking at? And then they might say like, what do you have about me? And then I would just say, well, you know, you shared with me this, you shared with me that, you know, this and that, blah, 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 pertaining to what you do. But I wouldn't share anything else because obviously I ain't got nothing else. And I would do this free of charge. I'm actually doing this as a trial to see how respected they would actually hire you in the venue so that you could see how SLMTA could work for you. Would that be something that you'd be interested in? Some artists are allowing me to do it. That's why you will see where every so often I will add like a few pictures here and there of other major models or artists or whatnot on there. What you see on our front page right now on a slideshow are just little hints of different things, but that's not really where I wanted to leave it off as, you know, because I have other information. I just need to figure out how to put that information on the website, meaning height, weight, things like that, like their actual stuff that they need to do. And I like things to be very, very specific. But if they're looking professional and someone is a very good graphic designer, then that would be great. Now, I will tell you, GoDaddy charges me $125 a month. So if you're willing to help satisfy the CARES thing and you want to make $125 a month just to do care on the website, then you'd have to let me know exactly how much you would be willing to do on a monthly basis for that amount. Because I can definitely, if I have everything set up perfect, I could definitely get like everything else that I need on the website for the 125, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to take advantage. So I want to, and some of you all are probably busy, but if you're able to do care for me, or you have some kind of a deal that could be added, an added bonus to that, then that will be great, because maybe we could talk about selling merch or something like that to where it could equal out with what the worth of taking care of a site besides what a monthly payment would be. But what I do know is that GoDaddy was the one that actually developed the page. But I could even go and get actual agency website developers from New York. I've already been quoted this, and they would be at $250 a month. So at the best case scenario, I can do $250 a month to do care on that. But if it seems to be too little, then we could talk about other things that might be an added bonus. Like if there's something that you want to add to it. But anyway, that's for those of you who are graphic designers. Agent, there is no other way of saying it other than there is a bonus system, but we are really looking for people that are telling us that they know how to be an agent. An agent is someone that has clients at their hand that know exactly who to call for what and what, and they may even have models available or singers or actors or whatnot that would want to sign with SLMTA. At that point, we would just give them, we don't charge for representation up front. Now, if there is the Dreamers division, because this was a little bit confused, yes. So there's the agents for those of you that know professional models and clients in that way, which is the easy part because it's like, oh, I can get them booked. I can make you $3,000 in agency fees with no problem, right? That may be true, but where it gets tricky is the Dreamers division. Why? Because it's really about, it's about exposure and networking only. They may be able to get bookings, and that would determine on if you're that good of an experienced agent that can actually book non-experienced actors and that kind of thing. You would also, you don't have to run the audition, but you may, what I may end up doing is seeing if I can hire someone. This is something where I may have to do a salary for, where their job is simply just looking at it like a judge. We would call it a judgment panel. We have the auditions. We obviously need them to audition in front of us to know whether or not there is any, what division they're going to fit in. They may have minimum experience, but they graduated from college. Well, that's an emerging artist or model. That's not an inexperienced model or artist, nor a pro. So they would be fitting in that category. That's why I decided that I had to cut out, but it's still there. They didn't listen to me before I got done the last segment of my doings. They were supposed to cut out everything and put the glamour artists on the home page where you can actually sign in as a glamour artist and set up your own profile. That's what was supposed to happen. And then the glamour artists that were there, based off of the information they provide, except for like social security numbers and stuff like that, we keep that separately. The other stuff, we basically, it shows up front. Why? Because then you can be booked as an experienced, even if you are licensed, a licensed makeup hairstylist. So that's what the glamour artist thing is all about. So right now it looks like on our website that we have models and talent. And then when you go to click there, you're going to see all these men and babies and everything else. So no, it's all blank. It's blank on purpose because they hadn't cut that stuff out. They were supposed to actually gut those two sections out, period, because now we have a roster panel. So, and what we're going to do is every model and talent will be able to develop their own sign-in and put their own pictures and everything else in there. And their resumes and all that. It'd be like their own little back office type / website that they can be able to share. But they did not listen to me. So that's what I want on there. I want that to be gutted out. I want the sign on on the home page where the glamour artist can sign up, because we want you front and center. We have 3 makeup artists and hairstylists. All of them are professional, got high awards, and have been licensed, except for I think one, and it's a woman. I believe that she's heading to New York. But there are 3 of them that fit that category. As a matter of fact, Iris does too, but I don't know if she's actually a licensed hairstylist. I have to find that out. from her as much as I've been talking to her. But anyway, she does hair, believe me, I've seen it. I have been there and done it, and I saw where people would go in there with nappy hair and come out like they were looking like Hollywood stars. And even half of them have even said, like, what do you got going on in there? I'd like to be a part of that. So, I mean, I could have booked her right then and there with 15 people getting hairstyles done. I mean, folks, where you can get it. But understand this, I'm okay with working under commission. Not because it looks like I'm not making no money. No, actually, the point isn't whether I'm making it or not making it. The point is whether or not our worth is going to show the duties of what we are doing. Right now, I'm putting on way too many hats, so I'm trying to. I mean, I have artists that are in Texas. I got artists. When I say artists, I'm talking all around, but really models and talent in Texas, models and talent in Los Angeles, models and talent in New York. Got them. I got them texting me from Virginia, West Virginia, New York, Chicago, Washington State. Some of them are dreamers, some of them are not. Some of them could be emerging artists. Some of them, in fact, I'm even sending emails out for starting next year of internship programs for SLMTA, as well as seeing if they would want to put SLMTA as part of a modeling and or talent agency for hire. Meaning, when they graduate, that they're not just saying, hey, good luck, but that, good luck into your next journey. Here, we have an agency that is actually wanting to work with you. Would you like to be signed? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to sign with us, and we don't force anybody to do it. Here's the other good news about SL Models and Talent Agency for some of you that want to know in the perspective of being an agent. We have non-exclusive and exclusive contracts. Mother agency contracts are usually, well, a lot of you know what mother agency contracts are. They're usually for the training division. In our case, our training division is the Dreamers division. But what we do is we tweak the contract to where it doesn't show mother agency and it just has the thing non-exclusive, and then we have to change the wording around to make it non-exclusive for the model and artist, for those who are probably represented by other agencies. That's a very easy fix, but for the most part, the contracts are already set in stone and they look very well and presentable. So I think the idea is just realizing and being comfortable with the fact that SLMTA is really working towards honest business. Now, with that being said, could I develop a base pay? Like, let's say you have proven to me that every single week, not even a month, but every single week, that you could put in for agency fees from bookings, like nearly, I don't know, $10,000 a week or whatever. I don't know. I'm just making a number up. If that is your proof, that literally provides that one agency one agent within the agency by itself is putting $40,000 plus, which is $400,000 a year if you want to talk about it in actual agency fees. And that is that is what we have seen. Then we would be doing what we call end of the year plus up. And then the next year, we would actually be negotiating what your actual salary would be. that's how we would end up doing that. But you would still get your agent fee, what we would end, or your agent fee, yeah, from the artist pay. But it would just be a deeper bonus that is your base pay. But we don't have to say that it's going to be this. But you may be required to still have to do those certain things. You see what I'm getting at? But the pay that you're going to get is going to be more promising because you're actually proving it to be so. It's hard to prove something when you hadn't done it. So that's why I'm going down that route. Now that is something of a trend that's happening with SLMTA. And it is considered legal, even though that, because you still, at the long run, you still have to be responsible for your own taxes. Now, we have an actual IRS enrolled agent who is licensed to the IRS, okay, who could actually do your taxes for you, but it's not free. And I can just send them to you if you need that part done. He can make it or break it. It's just going to depend on your situation. This is not a senior CPA, but they are higher up than an actual. There are enrolled agents, but there are different levels. The guy that I'm talking about is an actual licensed from the IRS enrolled agent. And he's also a superior tax accountant and CPA. So he has all the other titles behind it. He has to have them in order to even get where he's at with that license. It's the highest license you can get dealing with anything tax related or even to work with the IRS, period. That's why I say if I think something's funny, like, you know, I'm sorry to say this, but maybe I might be considered the snitch, but I snitch for a real purpose. I snitch because of the fact being that I don't want innocent people getting ripped off or tossed around because of other people are trying to find their way in. It doesn't work that way. You have to understand tax laws. You have to understand business law. You have to understand the law of your industry, all of that. So unless you actually have worked as an agent or as a regional officer, rather than demanding what you think a salary is going to be, you probably might want to work with an agency that is willing to work with you. And then from there, I mean, what you do at your own time is fine. Some of you that are going to be hired as agents to SL Models and Talent Agency, there's a few that have inquired about it. In fact, we could be getting another regional office in LA. If that does happen, we're going to be looking for agents out there, but we actually have 2 agents that are messaging me from LA that would be interested in the actual perspective of working as an agent from home, from their state. So what I've had asked them is, do you have a license? Because in California, you have to have a license. So one did, one is working towards that. So when you have it, please, we're going to need a copy of it, etc. So we are there. Things are happening. It's just going to take a little bit of time, you know, as time goes on to get that done. Also, logo development, brochures and all that. I hadn't really given the right credit, but let me go ahead and do that. Joel Martinez, who is from Venezuela, has actually been the one helping us with a lot of our graphics, not because it's cheaper for labor, but because at the time we didn't have anybody that was going to be good enough to provide us that opportunity to make the brochures. Now I did get one, but no, I gotten two people. One out of one, was it here in Tennessee? One I think that was here in Tennessee. Another one that was actually out of Oregon. The problem is that I offer to pay a certain amount, and then they just disagree that the pay wasn't good enough. So I said, okay, well, that's fine. And so I decided that I was tired of dealing with that kind of situation, and that if they wasn't going to work with me, let me go ahead and figure a way. We got to do business one way or the other. So Joel has been doing a lot of our brochures, all of some of the newly established logos that you're seeing, as well as the flyers that you will see formulated. He's also very good in high fashion. He has done runways before the whole pandemic. He's also been, his passport takes him everywhere except for America, like most internationals. He's been around. He speaks English and translates to, or excuse me, he speaks Spanish and translates to English. So that's the only little bit of an issue that I have in regards to that. But I would definitely like to try to make enough to where maybe we could offer him English classes where he can take online or something. But he has done an excellent job. Ashraf Tausi, international related models and artists, models and talent. That's who's going to be helping us with that. He'll be in the international division when he comes here into America. Ashraf Tausi also is a haute couture fashion designer. He has designs and wants to work with SLMTA to provide those designs for upcoming fashion weeks that we will be developing. And we're going to be taught about that because hopefully he'll be here sooner than later in the next couple of months. But he's working his way through. Europe, most of Europe was in a lockdown for a while there because of COVID-19 yet again. And a lot of his jobs that he does, like Gucci and Calvin Klein and all these big name brand companies, he's even been in print as well. A lot of them are just kind of looking for the local, but they don't have the local. So a lot of stuff just kind of like was fluttering. I was trying to figure out like how he could get there without getting, I didn't know. I was trying everything I possibly could. So Ashraf Tausi, thank you for actually being patient while he's also doing his own different things. But that's what we need now. Apparently Europe is supposed to be in the same phase as America as far as who getting vaccines and when. So if that is true, then hopefully maybe by June, people will be able to travel again. And I'm hoping that by then, because that's what the main headache is. It's not even that Ashraf Tausi isn't allowed here. He is allowed here. The visa, everything has all been good. It's the COVID-19 situation that's still keeping him. So technically he would have already been here if it wasn't for that. But he has helped develop the international division. And now because of him, I think I got about 5 other supermodels that are asking to sign with SL Models and Talent Agency. I am trying to figure out, because with him, we did a different process. But if you are an international artist, and I'm talking about where you come from the international waters to the United States, it is your responsibility to provide us the proof of your O or your P visa, whatever you may have. You need to have that. We're not hiring right now internationals to come and work at the agency. So you need to be able to show that you're distinguished enough to come to America to act like, were you in print? See, Ashraf Towsey, he could have been here anyway. It's a little bit of a different situation, but anyway, long story short is that with an O and P visa, he could have gotten in that way as well. And the reason for that is because with an O and P visa, I mean, he's been in print magazines, he's been in major television things. Like, these are things that America could be like, okay, let me scroll back to that date that you're claiming that you did this interview or whatever, and they would find it, they would know. They could go back to that magazine to figure out whether or not blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. And distinguished means that, see, Ashraf Towsey, he is almost to the point that he could tell you what he wants to get paid. You're not technically there yet until you reach a superstar level. And no, I'm not talking about you might have just landed a pop chart #1. And then you might have gotten interviews after that or whatever. In his case, it was like, I can mention his name now and I could get 20 comments later like, oh, I know that person is. I could get text. In fact, let me just check randomly. Yeah, like literally got 5 text messages just talking about, I know who you're talking about. So in other words, the only place that they don't know who he is yet is America. And I already got that lined up too, because when he does get here, Michigan is going to be the first place. We're going to go up there and we're going to line up and do some news media, press alerts, things like that at the local area. Then we're going to jump on the train or whatever and go to Chicago and blow that up. And then, kind of work our way around that way. That's what we're going to be doing, because this individual is a very specific individual, okay, when it comes to his line of art. But that's what we want to do with all of our different types of talent anyway. So if you are someone where you want to have exposure, but you've done a little bit here and done a little bit there, that is fine too. We want to provide the best exposure that we can get for you. And believe it or not, most places will start to want to pay you to want to go onto the news thing, not the other way around. Okay. If you get it set up right. And we're already there. We are already there. Like, there are places that we would tell them it's going to cost this and for travel. And they're right on it. They're usually news anchors that want to like speak with any of the artists or whatnot that we have. Some aren't exactly like that, but they do have very high exposure, and you can literally fit it in there and find it online and just blast it out there. Oh yeah, people are like, oh, let me see that. And then if they're living in that state or whatever, they would find it like instantly. So just so that we're on the same page, folks, I want to be very, 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 very clear. SLMTA does not want to rob anybody of who we are paying. And sometimes we're working at an ordeal to see what we could do about sign-on bonus for agents as well. But I want to be very, very clear. I'm not sure if it's going to be, it's not going to be the best, but it will be something, only because of the simple fact being that we're allowing you to work from home. So it's not like you have to travel, like you don't have to relocate or do whatever, but you do have to audit to us. Like, you're actually one step closer to actually being an regional officer. It's just that the only reason that you're not a regional officer is because you're not financially stable. If you are financially stable, then it's just a matter of you filling out the franchise sheets, and then you could have your own team and everything right there. You just have to audit to us every week what's coming in, going out. And then, you're responsible for what you want to do in your office. And then, of course, instead of paying us $100,000 like any other franchise would, we're asking right now for $5,000 because the use of a lot of property that we do have, and there's a lot of confidentiality with it. And then our royalty is just 30%. All right, but we automatically have to put you in as an officer until we get, I think it's past 14 states. After that, then we have to actually incorporate. Then if we incorporate, then we basically have to, you guys get a piece of the ownership. And then as owners, as the original owner, it would probably be something like 5% for each of you. But then those are going to franchise at that point, they would be paying the $100,000. Like, we would be able to demand more, and they'd have to go through the credit check and all that other fun, juicy stuff that you normally see with a franchise. In this case, I'm just developing regional offices where we think is going to be the hot spots. So we are working in and around Chicago. We are working in and around Los Angeles. Like, we're trying to see if we could get regional offices there. So if you're more of an agent and you're actually looking for, and someone, instead of them actually investing, they can invest in you by starting a regional office and then have the interview with me, and then we can send them the franchise forms. And they would just have to pay the $5,000 and make sure that they have the money. Like, you want to make sure you have at least $25,000 available for startup, at least, because it's going to cost, whatever it will be for the rental area, what you would be renting, that kind of thing. So that's for you guys as regional officers. So at tops, at the most, 50, but with the $5,000 franchise fee that we have. And yes, in case if you're wondering, it is normal. What's unnormal is the fact that our franchise fee is only worth $5,000. Why is that? I'm going to tell you exactly why. I'm going to be real. It's because we are new, and we are getting a lot of exposure from everywhere. So rather than claiming that we are worth $100,000 when technically we're not right yet, we're asking for $5,000 to actually represent the agency as the agency. That's the truth behind it, and the logo and everything else. But that the franchise also offers you the money of what you want to do with it and what you want to do to pull her back into the thing. The reason that we're asking for 30% is because the 5,000 is really actually nothing compared to normal franchise fees that you see with franchises. All right. Now what will happen is once we become incorporated and then we up the franchise, then the actual royalty fees will go down. Now, for those of you that are grandfathered in, when the royalties go down, you guys have already proven to us what you're able to do with your offices already. So you actually gotten lucky all the way around. Well, not lucky, but blessed all the way around. Because when we drop to 15%, which it will happen at some point, the royalties of 15%, that will be the only change that you would be seeing. Some had asked, could we keep it at 30% and then we just give regional office bonuses? I don't really like that idea because we're already to the point that we're already to the, because when we get incorporated, all of you guys already are going to be owning a piece of the company. It's probably going to be around 5%, I'm not going to lie. But that 5% is for the company as a whole. It's not just your one specific office that you started. So that's the difference with that. So that's why I'm saying take advantage of it now while it's low. It's almost like saying, you know, you got these Doge coins that are like only worth pennies. Well, if you're about to complain about what's happening with Bitcoin, then maybe take a piece of Bitcoin and put it in Dogecoin so that when it pops up, you're going to be seeing something even bigger than you did with Bitcoin. Why? Because those things are only worth a few pennies at one time. Well, that's the same way here. If you're going to tell me, especially if you're someone that you have a lot of contacts already, if you're financially stable, or if there's a way we could barter this to where this could happen, then for the most part, I mean, you're coming in like it's pennies. And then by the time we actually get incorporated, now we're incorporated as a domestic LLC. So that means that you would have to be a foreign LLC, but after 14 states, from what I heard, I'm going to double check on that. But after 14 states, they have told me that it would be best, my IRS enrolled agent anyway, said it would be best to go corporate. And maybe more like a S corporation because you don't want to be dealing with double taxation. See, folks, there is a whole lot of stuff going on out there where they say you don't want to be dealing with double taxation, but in the real sense of it, you're getting taxed double, triple, quadruple anyway. The minute that you buy a laptop, they go through the depreciation value, all right? Unless you actually take the full value. If you're smart, you take the full value at once. And then if you have all these negatives, then roll them over through the next year. That's how you do that. And that's where we are. Like we have losses, but we also had some gains. Like we were making some money within the agency, but it wasn't enough to like carry on per se. But we knew what we were doing. And then the losses, I mean, because we had the liabilities, like we had our silent partner who did the investment, things like that. And by the time we added all that up, God, it just became one nightmare after another. So let me just put it to you this way. SLMTA is the first agency that could literally say it had started with nothing, ended with something, but it was because of the fact being that we were able to establish that something with true investors that believed in our vision. So when we are talking about regional officers in Atlanta, for example, that's Brandon Moody. Okay, he is the one that has five collections. He's in LA right now, as a matter of fact. He has 5 collections for his Bailey Nottoway fashion line. And it's everything from streetwear to some other things, even scratching at the surface of haute couture as well. Long story short, because I don't want to mention too much, we have developed, that was one of our first regional officers that we have developed, and we actually used the fashion line as the barter system to develop our relationship where we are now. And that's about all I'm going to tell you. All right. Now, with that being said, he owns 100% of the rights of his fashion line, how we actually developed that barter system. The only thing is that he now knows that he has an agency that he could work for. Even when we developed the studio down there, I provided things like lighting kits and things like that. So I've supplied that, and now we're actually going to do it as a whole, where we actually have a studio spot for pictures, for things to be done, for new faces. So again, you technically have to be smart about how you're doing business in order to be able to do something, but you also got to make sure that you're doing it in a way that it is equal to what they are doing, or at the very least, it's going to show the equality in what you're doing. Okay. Let me give you an example of what I mean by showing the equality. Like, for example, right now, with him actually running the Atlanta regional office, we don't know what is actually going to come about it. We don't know. And he's been very busy with his fashion line. This is 5th one. So I wasn't expecting a lot to happen between now and September anyway. We got a big fashion week that we are developing for the first time in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. Pretty much the majority of SLMTA models will be represented at that event. We want to try to bring others as well, but we have some agencies that are willing to work with us. It's about the exposure, while other ones are kind of like, well, you know, if you're making money from this and blah, 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 then you're this and that and the other thing. And you know, while that is a little bit fair, again, it goes back to some of these agencies are wanting me to do certain things. But then when it comes to us actually wanting to involve them in things, it's like, okay, where's the fairness in that? That there was none. I'm hoping that that could change in the near future. I'll see. But I guess we'll find out where their mentality is going forward. See, I'm very patient. And I just, you know, and when I speak out of realism, okay? It's real. Don't fake me, because, you know, let me, never mind. I'm not even going to go down that road. Okay. So folks, Regional officers, yes. There is a way that we can do it as long as it's going to be equal with one another. Agents, though, I'm going to be honest, it's not really any real way to barter with an agent. The agent, the reality is that the agent gets paid 10% from whatever is being booked. That's the reality. There is no other way around it. Now, if you're doing other things for the agency, like if you feel like you're actually making a website, making the phone calls, scheduling the meetings, and doing all this and that and the other thing, like that's a whole different story. Then at that point, you know, and that's where I kind of get a little carried out of the way. So I have to push myself back a little bit. Like, okay, look, no, you're just an agent. This is what you need to do as an agent. If you're a recruiter, this is what you're going to do as a recruiter, you know, that kind of thing. We are looking for recruiters as well. I hadn't mentioned that. And the recruitment is really going to be, that's where we wanted to have the base pay. Because we, like I said, we can't charge anyone up front. Now, in the Dreamers division, we do charge up front, but it's not really, how do I want to say it? It's not really a charge as if it's anything, but you as a recruiter would have to know how to recruit them into the one-year training program. If you don't feel like that is something that you can do, I'd leave it alone. Because the one-year program, it is steep. Well, here's the good news about the one-year program. It starts from July and it goes to June. We want to start it this year. Now, we think that because of the pandemic and the fact that we're just starting this year, we may actually roll it back where you can pay 3 payments. Okay, and you just pay it quarterly instead of the down payment. But here's the thing, we have a Miami photo shoot happening in June. Most people that are asking about the Miami photo shoot already have the training. So here's what's going to end up happening, and I want to make it very simple. If you did not get the training and you want to sign with SL Models and Talent Agency, if you do the down payment to our one-year program, it is $1,950. It will already include your, it would already include your travel and everything that you need for the Miami photo shoot. Right. We're not talking about photo shoots for those who are already experienced or actual professional models. However, if you just want to go because you want to be part of a catalog or something like that, because we will be having some exposure there as well, then you would just need to show up on the days that we're actually doing the shoots. You wouldn't need 2 days of the actual face-to-face training to go with it. If you want to be part of the training and get paid for some mentorship, let me know. I mean, that is something that we're looking for. We could talk about that. But if you are a professional model already and you're just wanting to add to your portfolio and you think that this Miami photo shoot would be cool for you, then it would just simply, you know, it would just, now you would have to be responsible for your travel and for your hotel in this case, because we're just going to charge you for the time to use a photographer and that's it, and studio time. So it would be like $300 to do that. If you're going for the Miami photo shoot as experienced but not a pro, then it'd be $750 if you're not deciding that you're wanting to do the year program. The year program is called our Community Stars program, and is where we develop stars for a year. You'll start 6 months in audition readiness, and then you will finish with 6 months of performance readiness. In between, you will be doing different booking auditions on purpose because we want to be sure that you can do them. Some of them you may land actual jobs. Some of them you may not. Again, you're in training. It's not promised, but if you do get the booking, congratulations. We might even brag about the fact that you got a first booking in the middle of your training. We are waiting for that day to come, but when it does come, we will do that. And that could happen with a very good, here's the other thing about agents working from other states. If you need a particular model for your office for a booking, and maybe your office doesn't have it, you can collaborate with other offices. The money still goes into the same pot in a real sense because SLMTA, we're all SLMTA offices. We're just going to put it that way. All right. So it really doesn't make a difference how that part goes. We can collaborate in the way of how the artist could get there or whatnot, but all of our contracts basically state that unless you're a movie extra, that travel and lodging is going to be important. Now, all of it is important if you're going overseas. It doesn't matter if you're experienced or not. And those payments must be due up front before anything else is even being said. Why? Because we need to know that's being real. Like you have a job set up, they know where they're going, they know when to be there and all that stuff. So then you're going to actually be paying us for where you want them to go, or you may already have the hotel arranged. If you have the hotel arranged, we have steps in the process to confirm that. We would need to know who the manager is, what hotel. We would have to confirm that the hotel has been reserved for that audit. So we're not going to be pulling teeth and playing games. We don't have the time for that, even if we had a bunch of agents. If it hasn't been done and you're trying to say that you have done it, we are going to need to see the receipt of it so that we can provide it to the manager of the hotel or what have you, so that we have the proof right then and there. Okay. And then they're going to look at it and say, oh, okay, yeah, it was a payment that was waiting or something. Okay. And then we would know that it was for real. So you need to be able to confirm travel dates before you can actually do the booking. And another thing, when it comes to professional artists, models, singers, what have you, sometimes it's not a good idea to sit there and wait the week of and say, yep, we got casting calls, because it may not work. And some of you who are actual film producers know that. You need at least 3 months of very good casting, unless you're very, very good at what you think and you have. But you don't want to make the same mistake twice if there was already a mistake. It would just be terrible, okay? So I'm saying it out of love for the industry, out of love for those who may be learning this, out of love for the, whatever. I'm saying this as true as I possibly can. Now, things are going to be changing with SLMTA because we had to figure this out, and it is something that is going to have to be fair. Why am I saying this? Because there are issues with some clients wanting artists to do all this travel, but then there are other scenarios where they don't even get paid as much. So what we are going to actually do for the fairness of both the artists and the client is that if you cannot pay at least for the travel and the lodging, then you may need to reassess the budget, because they will be willing, some of the folks that are on my team in the Midwest region, they are willing to do it just for, for exposure and things like that. But you have to at least be able to pay for flight tickets and the lodging, especially if you're talking about, now it's one thing if you're talking about if it's just a photo shoot or video shoot for a thing, but if you're talking about hours on end and then several like days, and there's this day and that day and this day in between and all that, so there's a schedule of it, then I think you need to reevaluate and then do the casting call, because you could end up with a mistake in the end. That's what it sounds like to me that could ultimately happen. Now, for some clients, they actually like to look at it where it's strictly local, and that's fine too. If they're able to find what they're looking for to do what they want on a local level. But if it happens to be where you're looking for an agency, 9 times out of 10, that is where freelancers are starting to realize they actually need an agency. They either need an agency or they need to learn how an agency functions so that they know what they're doing. Now, in my case, I've been down both ways, down both routes. There are a few that have a team already, and it's just a matter of them working with an actual professional team like SLMTA to actually make the rest of what they actually want to do a reality. The real question is what are they actually, what's the intention behind it? And when I do Zoom meetings, that is what I'm usually attacking. I'm not attacking, but what I'm wanting to grab. I want to grab the intention. Okay, I need to know do you have a serious niche for what you want to do with SLMTA? And I might even ask, like, why SLMTA, even though I might have been talking to you for like a year, all right? I might ask, why SLMTA out of all the other companies? Now, mind you, 9 times out of 10, I would hear things like, you're the most honest, you're most authentic, you're most real. I have not seen anything yet that was past that line. I would be curious to see, unless there's other words that are involved with that, but most people, that's what they're saying, and they're sticking with it too. Okay, mind you when I say it. Am I saying that the Dreamers division is going to be cheap? No, folks, I'm not saying that. In fact, it may not be cheap. All right, we have different ways to help you. All right, we will work with you. I understand that we are on the back edge of a pandemic and that, and I'm talking about new models and new talent. Okay, I understand that I might be hitting you with a bill, all right, for your training. in that division. But you're also going to have to understand that that is actually your investment for the year, for you to be able to build yourself, build your resume, build your coaching skill, everything, so that you can be ready to get on the forefront. Things don't come free anyway. Now, if you want to offer us something else and you think it's actually worth to do that and it's equal to it, and we think that it's going to actually, the point is at the back end, the reason of us actually charging what we are charging is because we have to actually pay the coaches, the mentors, and all of that. Some mentors will do it for free. It really just depends. It's like we have a contest that's going to be coming up during our summer extravaganza that I hadn't mentioned about, which is going to be kind of toward it's going to be more like a fall thing, but middle of July into August. So it's just going to be 45 days. And basically it's a contest for singers and musicians only. And what this will do is it will get you mentorship with professional singers in the industry, so that you can be hooked up with the right ability to do what you want to do. They're going to give you both routes. They're going to tell you what it's going to be like if you went with a major record label versus what would happen with an independent label, how you can do things in another way versus the other way, where you can do nothing with something, or get something out of nothing, or whatever. You know, some of these folks are that good. I've spoken with some of them, but they are very, very professional. They have the experience plus some to be able to show you the ropes in the industry when it comes to the vocal arts or instrumental arts. So definitely look out for that contest, because it is coming up in July, and it's going to be only 45 days voting and all that. And then fall, we're going to be doing the fall season, where you'll be seeing it live on live stream, as well as live even on local air as well. So get ready for that. We have some big things coming up. What else do I need to bring to your attention? And I know that I wanted to discuss, and I threw it in there a little bit, like what's holding you up. That's the real question, because there are some of you that, you know, we are willing, when it comes to regional officers, and ask Brandon if you really want to have the proof of this. Brandon and I will communicate at least once a week. Okay. Sometimes maybe once a month, like in the now it might be like twice or once a month. And the reason is because it's in LA, and we are extracting a whole thing like with his fashion line, as well as clients that will be working with SLMTA for Midwest and Southeast region. So it's going to be a big thing coming up. I'm about to hear some pretty good news come June, like actual realities that could pop in. Folks, we've been in communication back and forth, and so we are able to work things out because we're in the same boat as to what we have versus what we don't have, and then what we need and what we're going to do to move things along to be able to make it a reality. And he's doing it. So I'm here to basically tell you this, that And I have to kind of close up this window. So give me one moment because I got a sun that's right in my eyes. Okay. Um, Technically, where I'm at with SLMTA at Chattanooga, if it wasn't for me having a home office, I wouldn't have been able to communicate to him to even know about Atlanta because I was focused on the Midwest office. And I still am. But the thing is that I'm actually trying to figure out what the reality is going to be. We might be able to start another Midwest office, and I'd like to do this if I can. A Midwest office that would be right in Chicago, because Chicago is where a lot of the top agencies and other big companies are. We are getting a lot of different, what I want to say, different job order from other different local areas as well. But some of them are willing to actually work with the agency as far as our direct booking process and developing relationship with us and their responsibility. But others are simply not. And, you know, we try to keep them on target still, despite the fact that they are not or are not. And we, you know, we let them know that, you know, the best case scenario for agencies that are not agencies, but clients that are not able to work with us in the way of direct booking, we would basically tell them at the very least, you have to be able to pay for lodging and travel for every time that you're wanting that person there for that shoot. Because technically, the minute they're on that plane and they fly to you, you are responsible. And it don't matter if you're union or non-union, you have a high level of responsibility for these models and or talent. So it doesn't take you out of responsibility because you don't have it. You have to understand that. So I am real, and sometimes being real can touch a really bumpy spot at the heart, and I understand that. But the thing is that we have to work together. We all in this industry, we have all, oh, excuse me, we have all went through this big bump in the road with the pandemic. But the pandemic is just nothing but a sure excuse about what we are doing. Now, if you hadn't figured out how to get past the pandemic, and I'm sorry to say this, we could be seeing problems when the reality hits that, like, I'm going to give you an example. What's holding you up? Let's just say, right, that the government does pass reoccurring checks. I'm just going to say that, all right? Because it's like the big dream that's going on out there. Let's just say that the government does. There is demand. We need models and all that, right? But then we also see a demand that some of y'all need some training, and I do see it. Some of you will act like you don't need it and then try to like showcase like your sexiness, but it's not even about sexiness, folks. Sexiness is not the same as actually being a model. Ask Ashraf Talsi that. He will tell you. Now, does that technically mean that you're not sexy? That's not what I'm trying to say either. But besides the point is some of you think that you know everything about it. Some of you are flat out discouraged because I'm asking you to do an audition when it is your responsibility to do the audition. If you know the industry, then you know you have to audition. So what do you mean? Oh, I have to do an audition and all that stuff? Come on, are you being for real? Yes, you got to do the audition if you want to get a call back or whatever. Yes, you need to do an audition if you're going to want to get a job. What do you mean, do I have to do an audition? If you can't do the work, you don't, you know, I don't understand this. It's like you're going to a job and you're like, yeah, I want to get paid, but could I just sit here? I mean, I'm tired out. That's what you're saying. I just want to sit here, but as long as you pay me, I'll be fine. Hold up, wait a minute. I gotta be dumb if I'm gonna allow that. No, that ain't working. Ask any person out there. You think you're gonna get a good grade if you don't audition to your music theater production at college? I'm not interested in that show. Nope, I'm not gonna audition to that one. Okay, well, then you don't even get credit for that. You could be holding yourself up. That's best case scenario, is that you could be holding yourself up for a degree. But then if you don't like it and then you flunk the audition, then it's like they got to put you back to acting 101 because you don't know how to act. It's like, see, at college, they have a way to do that. You can't fool a college about what you know and don't know. Okay. Whereas, you know, with an agency, I'm just going to sit there and go along with it. I'm going to be like, okay, you don't want to audition? All right. Well, I mean, what you're telling me is you don't want the job. Let me go move on to the next person. And that's basically what I do. I actually say, all right, I'm going to go on to the next person. I don't have time for this. So what would be holding you back? So let me give you an example for those of you that are in this scenario, which would be all of us. The government's passing all this money around like it's hotcakes, okay? What are you doing with the money to prepare yourself for the other side of this pandemic? Are you using it to hope that you're going to increase in Bitcoin? Are you using it for ridiculous costs of whatever else that it may be? If you know that it's going to cost you $19.50 for the down payment to get yourself investing in coaching for a year, that's too much, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to provide $1,400 and put it in Bitcoin. And I actually hope that Bitcoin will give me, say, 9,000. Now, for some of you, it might work. Congratulations if it did. For some of you, it may have not worked. Boo-hoo, I don't know what to tell you. What I will say, I'm sorry, I just have a way of being real, okay? Sometimes I could be real tough too, so you have to forgive me. I have a quirky type of personality. The doctor of the industry, for anyone that doesn't know that I don't know anything. Oh, Lordy. Amen. Okay. So here we go, folks. All right. The truth of the matter is, if the government is saying, hey, look, I'm waving this, I'm waving that, I'm actually waving the magic wand and poof, there goes some money in your account and your account, whatever, right? This is probably the one time you're ever going to hear me talk about it in this way. But I want you to understand that the point of the government stepping in saying stimulus is to be able to help you realize that here's my chance to help you realize one thing. You need to get out from the other side of the pandemic. That's what I need you to realize. So if you're using the money for all the wrong reason, and then when it comes time where the limit got cut off, no more, it's done, it got cut off, that is the point where it gets scary. And that's just a harsh reality, folks. Because at what point do you think the limit is going to be? Now, I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm being real. There's a difference. Okay? There are some that might think I'm talking negative about this stimulus thing because they're hoping for like $1 million by the time they get out of it. Folks, it ain't going to happen. Okay? Let me explain to you what will happen. They will be cutting the limit at some point. And then what investment did you do for you to move on now that the pandemic is behind us? So if you're stuck in a barter system, that could also be a harsh reality. I've already told you what's real. Commission is the reality. Why do I say that? Because when you're working for commission, only you would be able to know what you are worth. And a lot of people don't like to show what they're worth, so they think they're worth more and they want to push another agenda. Folks, I'm here to tell you that the truth of the matter is you have to work for your paycheck. That's just the way it goes. You want some moolah? You want even some, I don't know, you want something for these paper towels? No, I'm kidding. They're dirty. You don't want nothing for that. The point that I'm getting at is that you need to be prepared to come out of the other side. So if you're one of those who hadn't done much of anything and you're just exposing yourself, well, first of all, congratulations to the exposure. I will congratulate you there. All right, thumbs up. But it will definitely get you where you need to go on the other side, but there is more to it than that. Because you were worth something even through the pandemic. If you really want to know the true system of barter, it would be actually commission. See, I've written a book, it's called The Psychology of the Creative Innovators. And I've been actually interviewing many different people in the industry. Many. The only reason that the book isn't out to where you could research it and say, oh, look at that, is only simply because I hadn't gotten it out yet for publication. I'm doing some edits with this, mainly for textbook reasons first. And then I'm going to be revolving it into like a story system. And then you're actually going to see a different book with the same information, just written in story form for the average person to read. Okay, so that you can understand the reality, the truth behind everything that went on, because I'm not just talking about the pandemic, folks. The pandemic, yeah, that was an offset. You're right about that. God was like, put the brakes on. We put the brakes on, and here we are. Some of us spent a year complaining about the pandemic. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna do? And and I'm sitting here like, Hi, hello everybody. How are you? Oh, shut up, you show off. You know, all these nice negative notes. You get what I'm getting at, right? Well, here's the problem. We all could have done the same thing. Some of us, unfortunately, were just flat out. I hate to say it this way, but it is true. We have a sense of laziness as humans. We really do. Let me explain to you something. You're a new model. You're a new artist, right? You're a new talent, okay? Last year should have been your time to be prepared. You should have been trained last year to get out and ready for next year. How many of us have actually done that? Or were we sitting in bed watching Tiny Toons and you know, I don't know, Netflix and all that, trying to twiddle our thumbs like, how are we gonna do this? In the meantime, oh, SBA got a grant. Oh, okay, hold up. So I work for Uber, right? So now we're right back at it again this year too, because now you get an additional $9,000. So if 1,000 wasn't enough, you're going to get a 9,000. Okay, for that, because you got the remaining amount. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to sit there and be like, oh, I got $9,000 to live off of, so now I could just sit here and watch all the Netflix I need to see. What are you going to do with that $9,000? I think I'm preaching enough here, am I not? So what do you do to be prepared? Then the question is, we got to move this along now. Then the question is, what will you do to prepare in case of some other emergency came up? Now, some of you are like, oh, I cannot wait for this pandemic to be over with. I could go right back to my live red carpet mask. Yeah, listen to me. Oh, that's true too. I do want to have my masquerade ball first, really do. But I can't wait for this pandemic to be over with. I can have 100% full capacity. I could sit there. I could like jump the prices all the way up to the moon. I could turn around and I could we're going to do live red carpet ceremonies and all kinds of stuff. We're going to do that fashion line thing. The runway is going to hop and pop and flop, and we're going to kick and scratch and claw everything. It's going to be like crazy, right? Everybody's going to be all over the place. They won't even know what price to charge anything. I'm here to tell you what price you're going to be charging. Because if you think that you're going to charge up, start putting the fingers down, because let me explain to you where the trend is. While the necessities are so expensive, right, our other things seem to become more cheaper, which means that there is more demand for like toilet paper and washcloths and paying your rent on time, you know, things like that. There's more demand for that. But it could be a little bit more cheaper to go travel. The only problem is the gas prices, yeah, they're going up. Eggs are going up, milk is going up. I'm pretty sure I'm not preaching to myself when I'm talking about that. This is all real. So everything's going up. But nobody, it's even worse because now it's like you're trying, like, okay, everybody got a job, okay, after the pandemic. But it could have been that $8 an hour job. It'd be enough to go and get you a pack of bologna if you're lucky. I mean, a loaf of bread today, if you want a decent type of loaf, is going to be half of your hourly wage. It's ridiculous. So by the time you're sitting there talking about, all right, it's going to cost you $1,500 to go ahead and join a convention, you got people like, huh? $1,500 to do what now? Because I'm having a hard time getting a loaf of bread. Can you spend some of that $1,500 over this way? I need it. So then it forces us, again, I honestly think, and this is a truth, and you might think that I'm nothing but just twiddling my thumbs and wishful thinking here, but you're going to actually realize that the reality of the entertainment industry kind of put us on an onset that we had to actually stop and revamp. What does that mean? Pretty much you had to start over. You can't keep thinking that you could do the same thing the same way. It's not going to work. Well, you think you might be work doesn't mean anything if the business isn't there. Think about it. You could turn around and tell me that your CD is worth $12.99, but if the production shops aren't there to continue producing those CDs or manufacturing them, the only other thing that you're going to have is the internet. Congratulations. I just threw one up in the air, didn't I? Yeah, the only thing you're going to have then is what? The thing that you hear my big mouth on right now, the internet. Unless, of course, you live next door to me or whatever, and my voice is traveling through these apartment walls or whatnot, then then they might hear me too. But for the most part, it's the internet. We need to actually like revamp what we're doing here. Entertainment, right? Entertainment. So we have places that flat out just close straight up. Broadway, right? I think I might have saw maybe 3 shows, like it wouldn't be on YouTube, it'd be like live stream, some kind of something there. Maybe it was YouTube TV or so, I don't remember. But it was something there where it was like, I don't even remember the last time I saw Lion King, even when it was even out. Folks, this is craziness. I've lost all this money. I don't know if we could be able to reopen. Well, hello. You had the internet, the broadband was banging to the point I didn't know where it was banging to. Everybody took advantage of the internet. You could have did a replay of the Lion King show or something. Oh, that's against the law. You know, you can't replay that one without permission. Well, give yourself permission. These folks, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is out there with this situation. I have a weird, like I said, quirky way of having a sense of humor here. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on what way you want to look at the situation. Well, excuse me. Wow, that hiccup did something wrong. Well, I'm a musical theater student. I was on Broadway, but I got stuck and I can no longer act, and it's been like that for 18 months. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the avenue of coaching. Okay, great. Then you're wondering. Then I'm wondering, actually, not you, because I don't know what you're wondering about. One minute we are hearing complaints about how bars and restaurants are closing down, which is true. At that time, bars and restaurants were closing down, right? So we were hearing that situation, but then I was like, ooh, why would I be hearing that coming from them? I thought they were doing coaching. What's going on? So then, I researched further, and like I said, unless you don't put yourself out there. I mean, the research is there, and it's like, okay, now the bottom line is, and you start realizing what is available so you can make the money. So now you're dealing with real estate options. You're dealing with what is it like? I'm going to go sell Amazon on YouTube or whatever, and it's like everybody's doing that YouTube thingy of selling on Amazon. You got these folks trying to sell you stocks, and I even had one, like, I don't know, like, you know what? You can go on tours in the middle of a pandemic with no tour buses running. And they're like, well, no, you could prepare them for the trip now and they'll pay for it later or some crap like that. I was like, no, I'll just worry about touring when tour could be open, okay? Because nobody is not going to go on a cruise. It just doesn't make sense. I'm not going to sit there and predict. I'm not going to tell, not predict or tell, but I'm not going to sit there and sell somebody on a cruise when half the world basically knows that they're closed down. It just doesn't make sense. Now, don't get me wrong. Could I actually sell a cruise? Oh, yeah, but I'm not sitting there trying to do it. And the reason that I'm not is because I'm a real person. I'm not going to sit there and actually overexert something that actually doesn't show anything. If there's nothing there, that you're not going to go on a cruise with it shut down. So it doesn't make sense. Anyway, point being that I'm getting at, because I want to end this soon. The point that I'm getting at, folks, is this. You have to make sure that you are preparing yourself for getting the back end. And I believe that the entertainment industry, it's actually going to be the hardest industry to do a comeback. Even if you're going to say, I'm the agency, we know how to do it, and we're going to be the agency to do the comeback. Let me tell you, it does not matter how much of a comeback you think you're going to have. The reality is going to be what you're actually able to do. Why? There are two reasons why. You have the micro and you have the macro problem. The macro problem is the issue about the economy as a whole in various locations where some folks have completely lost money during it. And then you have the micro part, which is in your area where you might actually be able to see specific things happening that would involve what your industry is about. But here's the truth. Let me put this in English, okay? Because some of you don't know numbers or economics or any of that. So let me put this in very simple format for you. Basically, what I'm saying is that most people went scientific, okay, which is any industry related to technology, scientific, even what do they call that? The health geeks out there, you know what I'm talking about. The naturalisms, okay, they're industries that have peaked up, along with like selling Amazon online and things like that. Those are the places that got peaked up, okay, during a pandemic and still happening today. In the meantime, it does not matter if you are an agency where you were charging a fee that you know you were used to charging, and then all of a sudden you had a drop nearly almost 60%. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to even go lower after the fact, because, but then you're going to try to say, well, I have to charge higher because I'm being charged higher. Well, at this point, you have to do what they call the commission base. You have to. It's the reality. Why am I saying that? Because you don't know where there's a value at somewhere where the economy just stopped you. It's like saying, okay, I think I'm worth this, but I don't know. Well, macroeconomics says that it's going to cost you more to do that. You don't have the money, so what you doing trying to do it? So the only thing that you can do is offer a barter system. And a true barter system is actually commission. Now, what it used to be before a pandemic is that most people in the entertainment industry stopped the whole barter system, meaning commissions and ticket sales and things like that. They were slowly stopping it. Now there is a huge reality. You're going to find out that if you don't do this, then it's the end. And the truth of the matter is there has to be a boiling point, and we're already at that point now, because you stopped and now you're to the point where you actually have to start over. So think about it. How do you get something when you have nothing to get somewhere? That's where your skills and all that come in. So if this doesn't mean anything to you, if you think the performing arts doesn't mean nothing to you, then obviously you would probably be the one to falter. But for me, I have a passion in the arts, and SLMTA is as real as you're going to get for an agency. So I'm not going to be here to falter. I'm going to be here to try to work it out the best I can with any regional officer, any agent that works with us, as well as the models and the talent that we are booking. But we got to be real on all levels. It cannot just be a one-way street. And yes, it is going to force you to have to do some kind of collaboration. But collaboration isn't about how you benefit from it. It is about how both of you benefit from it. So if you're looking for a benefit, then you're in the wrong industry, because this industry is now trending towards collaboration. And that's where you need to be putting your foot at this point. And if you think I'm a joke, ask some of them that are actually trying to do their own things out there now. They will tell you. The only reason, I mean, there's bigger agencies where some of them, you know, maybe some of them went bankrupt. I had to research that, actually. I would be curious to know. But like you're in a situation, I mean, here's the new trend now, even for fashion. And I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. And you're going to get some agencies out there that are going to try to hide this truth to make just because it whatever. I don't know what the real purpose is for, but in my trending research, I found out that most manufacturers are producing fashion overseas for cheaper rates, which is why certain big classes of products that are sold in America could actually be sold at a lower rate, or they would have a made up version of that same product. Like, like maybe you can't afford to buy a Gucci pocketbook for $14,000, but you might be able to see the one that looks like it from another manufacturer that has a permission to utilize a patent. In that case, say could be selling that pocketbook for $800. There's a word for it. I don't know what it is, but the idea is some of you might be getting richer, and then the ones that are in the middle class, these are for you guys. This is the reality of economics, okay? It's the middle class on down that are actually getting the brunt of this situation, regardless of where you are at in this world and how you define middle class. And therefore, this situation is becoming a huge burden. I honestly believe when it comes to here's another thing. This is the issue that I think that government's got wrong. Let's say that you got 9 million applications, and out of 9 million, you know that there are 3.5 million businesses, small businesses that can be approved for a $5,000 supplemental grant. If you know you only have enough to pay 1 million, then why is SBA not going after the Congress to pay out the remaining amount for the other 2.5 million? And yes, I'm using it as an example. I'm not saying that that's what the real numbers are. And if they are, well, then I must have done a very good guess. But the point that I'm getting at is that sometimes we don't even realize we don't even realize our own budgets. We're creating budgets, but don't know what we're using it for. Or the budgets are just all over the place. So I actually hope and pray that if that is the truth, that somebody actually get involved in that situation and say, hey, you need more money for that program. It's not about if it's allocated. The point is whether or not they can get more. They would have to bring it, look at what happened with PPP, where PPP ran out several times already. Well, if the PPP is going to run out several times already, then why not just, they were sitting there saying, well, we could get up to 450 billion, and then they would just put in and the Senate would actually vote on it, right? And everything would be done. Well, why not do the same thing when it comes to the SBA? It's almost like a joke if you ask me, but it's just my opinion. Especially if you know that there's a backlog, you're not even sure if it's actually going to be that amount, and then you're going to open it up for other applicants. So the way I look at it is good luck to those who are of the million that could get it, because I mean, you might get a $5,000 supplemental. If you're not in the million, meaning that you're not within 50% of your loss of last year, then you probably would not qualify. A good example would even be the Uber driver that actually got approved, where 2019 he might have earned 10,000, but in 2020 he earned nothing because he was not able to drive. Well, that's 100% loss. He would definitely get a $5,000 grant. You see where I'm getting at? Because it's 50% or more if you have actually lost. Like in my case, we started our agency in 2019, but it was the last quarter, in the middle of the quarter. So we made, I don't know, like we made, $18,000, whatever, right? But then in 2020, I got a whole crap ton of losses. Even as we're making money, there were still losses. And then, of course, I had the loan, don't forget, because the loan is a liability to the company. So I had the loan, not a loan from the SBA, but a loan from a silent partner who was helping me to get things established. And, like anyone else, believe it or not, if you want to think about it, I've done more during the pandemic with SLMTA than I did in 2019, when I didn't realize that the pandemic was going to happen, because at that time it was just a epidemic, or the other word. So then it got into other situation where we had to decide what we were going to do, despite me still paying for the office. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a flex job and actually work full-time related hours. And that's what's going to happen, because the goal is I want to use a part of that. As long as I can live, I'll be happy right now, because the point is, once you get someone that could bring the money in, you won't need that other job. So I have to sacrifice getting the other job to be able to pay the people that I would want to actually do what I'm asking for, and then go ahead and go down that route. And then once I see the money flowing in, then I know I don't have to have that job no longer. That's the only real way that this could actually work, especially for those of you that I'm hiring as recruiter. See, I'm not here to make pretend. I'm going to tell you exactly what my sacrifice is. There are some out there that will either I don't know how to explain. I don't think it's called forcing. I just think it's called annoying. Whether it's sitting there just wanting to sell you on that workshop, like selling you this, selling you that, right? But the reality is, when the people are asking, like, do you do bookings? When it comes to pandemic, what do you have? You have the excuse about the pandemic. That's why you're not able to get the booking. So the other people have the excuse, well, with the pandemic, I didn't make none, so how could I pay for your workshop? Excuse me 1 minute. Okay, that was a false alarm. It'll come up, I'm sure. I have these allergies and they're like bad. So, so the reality is that I am happy to share that SLMTA was able to work out a detail, even though that we had to reconfigure what our expenses are, because most of our expenses have been done. They've been done before the pandemic, so we're basically ready to rock and roll anyway. The only thing that we need to really establish at this point is the website, because GoDaddy has really, like, I don't even want to go there, but yeah. But But as far as the agency is concerned as a whole, I think it's going to be perfect. And when we get out the other side of this, all these folks that were watching SLMTA grow, even because we have clients now, I didn't even know who they were. They're coming out of New York, they're coming out of Chicago, they're coming out of Grand Rapids itself, like the local area, coming out of Nashville, everywhere. Just out of the blue, like we would like to know if you have any talent within your this and that. And the thing is that they're asking us if we have the talent. Folks, you are the talent, okay? You are the talent, whether you need the training or not. You are the talent. And some of these places, they're looking for quirky. They're looking for what they call the non-traditional. Do you hear me? The non-traditional. That's a big deal when we're talking non-traditional. These are folks that are probably half trained, but willing to work with the client. They have the look, but they're willing to make that look more expandable. In other words, they're not, you know, it's very interesting. I think we're going to be going into another trend there. And if that's the case, and that's something that I might want to see more about before I speak to conventions. Because the truth of the matter is, conventions is all about getting people in front of big major, like the exposure of big major agencies. Well, if I have clients that are talking non-traditional, well, folks, they're willing to work with you on a non-traditional way. I'm willing to go. I step in line. I'll have every contract lined up for you, for real. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Maybe not exactly in that way. But the truth of the matter is, you need to line up now. This is your chance. SLMTA is looking for you. It doesn't cost you anything to sit there and decide if you want to sign with an agency. The only time it would cost you is if you have decided, because either way, if I told you you're going into the Dreamers division, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to pay for the full year thing. You can pay as you go. Like if you like a particular workshop, if you're a quick learner, we'll know that. The only thing is that when it comes to the 6-week education program, that is the part where you're going to probably be stuck. I think it's 9 weeks, something like that. That's the part that you would probably have to pay for if you wanted to get in front of a convention. Why am I saying that? Because it actually makes you do performances and things like that. This is where we know if you have taken it serious in your audition readiness program. So if you think, oh, I don't need any help with audition, I just need to do the performance readiness thing, then by all means, then you can sign up for the 9-week program, you know, but that's where most of the cost is anyway, because it includes your convention. That's the only way you can get into convention too, by the way, or one of the only other ways. The other way is if you're an emerging artist and you're willing to want to go by yourself, we would just have the actual charge that you would need to go to the convention. But we would actually have to see if you pass the convention standards of actually doing the audition. It's because, again, when you go to a convention, the only person you will be embarrassing, by the way, it will not be me. I'm as real as it gets. I will let them know exactly what had happened. So if you're saying, oh, I don't need this and I shouldn't have to audition, and then they tell you, okay, come audition in front of me, and you have nothing prepared, I don't know what to tell you. All right, so that's going to be on you. You know what I mean? You have your light. You know what you want to do. You know what your passions are, right? And that's how I put it. That's literally as real as I can get. All right. But yeah, because not everybody is going to pay for the 1 year program. Some are paying for like photo shoot. Some are paying for workshops or whatever, but they're all being done in the Dreamers division. So basically, a Dreamers division handles all of your educational programs, because the goal is that by within a year of full training, based off of your availability, you would be able to work those details out. And so that's where I'm at with that. I don't think there's much more that I have to say. If you have any questions, okay, about this live stream, and or you have any comments, you can put them in the comment section down below, and I'll get them in the next video. In the meantime, however, if you hadn't done so yet, please subscribe to our SL Model and Talent Agency LLC's YouTube channel. We haven't reached enough subscribers yet to where we can actually have youtube.com/SLMTA. I'm working on that, but definitely let me know. If you want to collaborate with me where you have music videos or different videos of yourself doing things that are non-traditional but professional, things like that, and you would like to share a like on the Model and Talent Agency's YouTube channel and or Twitch channel, just so that you can get some exposure, please let me know. You can email me or message me on Facebook if you're hearing this, because it is something that is going to be interesting that I would like to share live. Usually during the 3 to 6 p.m. it is prime time, and then from 8 to 11 p.m. it's SLMTA at night. But tonight I will not be doing a nighttime show. I'm just going to be doing the prime time show. I want to also bring to your attention that for those of you that might have been watching yesterday's video, and I should have mentioned this in the beginning, but I didn't. Yesterday's video was very interesting. If anything, it was probably very entertaining. Some of you might have actually thought that I was being threatened and everything else along the line. The truth of the matter is that yesterday we had training, and part of the training was to develop improv scripts, and we were thinking outside the box, and the theme was dramatic scenes. So we were trying to keep it G-rated while at the same time not making it too long, but I didn't realize that the training had lasted as long as it did. So we practically made like a whole soliloquy of a show for an hour long on almost each improv, which I thought was very interesting. And some people actually, they were like, after they realized that it was only improv, they were like, man, this was actually very, it was very interesting. My family, on the other hand, I guess, I don't know, they were upset because they got woken up out of bed or whatever the case of the matter is. But for those of you that were watching it, some of you probably, if you have been watching from the beginning to the end, you would have known that it was an improv, and so it was all acting. But that's what I wanted him to do, and I think he kind of got it. Now, we had to laugh in between on purpose so that people knew that this was real, or that this was fake versus real. Otherwise, I wouldn't have laughed. But that was our cutoff moment. So it was like one scene, next scene, you get the idea. But that's how I was able to create it. And then after I went back, because I actually went back and listened to the whole thing, I was like, he's actually getting better at it. And he's one of our trainings, by the way. He will definitely become a pro model slash actor, I think, very, very soon. But the goal was to get him to actually act it out without smiling. Like, if you're actually angry about a situation, you're not going to laugh about it, even though that you think and that you're only pretending that you're angry. You see what I'm getting at? So you have to like think outside the box. You have to know when you're acting it out to look real in front of the screen, while at the same time knowing that it's not real. And it could be difficult sometimes. It really can. And there was some that really thought that I was having a big fight with some guy online last night. So congratulations, Malik. You actually hit it on the nail last night. We did very good with that arguments. We had two arguments, one back to back, one about $50. The other one was about my stolen lunch. But boy, we we did it. We did it. We had the phones blowing up, people calling everybody like, is everything okay over there? It was really that real. I'm not kidding. Like, I mean, it was definitely. I'm going back laughing about it because I know that it was fake, but people, it's people are going to be people, but now they know. And if you didn't know, guess what? Now you actually do 24 hours later. So yeah, that was an improv. It was fake. If you want to follow us again on YouTube, we are the gold icon with the red ring around it. SL Models and Talent Agency LLC. Please subscribe there. If you want to, you can also subscribe at twitch.tv/SLMTA. You can also become a SLMTA community member for just $5 a month starting out at www.patreon.com/SLMTA. And for our sponsors, yes, if you want us to sponsor you, or if you're looking for sponsorship abilities, you can also do so at slmta-agency.square.sites/SLMTA-sponsorships. And all that money actually goes toward the educational program. And then one other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention. All right. If you want to advertise with us, there's going to be a process for this. You can do audio or audio and visual or flyers or video commercials. If it's any kind of audio visual, movies, commercials, what have you, they must be no more than 60 seconds in length. You can definitely advertise with us. We also have other advertising with us techniques that you can use. We'll let you know more about that when we set that program up. But for now, for videos, commercials, audio and visual flyers and ads, you can send them to us at slmtagency@gmail.com. We will look at it and we will give you a reply within 3 business days, not including weekends or holidays. Okay, so that is where we are at this point in time. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section down below. And we look forward to seeing you in our next video tomorrow at prime time, which will be at 2 p.m.